Hey, Joe on the radio. David Bossie is a former deputy campaign manager for Trump 2016. New York Times bestselling author, by the way, president of Citizens United. And we invited David on the show because he wrote this great piece for Fox News called Debt Ceiling Deal's Biggest Loser is the American People. David, welcome back to the show. I know you're fired up this morning. Thanks for joining us, my friend.
As always, my friend. How you doing?
Good. You know, by the grace of God, everything is so good. But I fear what's going to happen in the election. You know, we'll get into that. But let me talk about the debt ceiling because I didn't know about McCarthy, David. You know, I don't know. I wasn't, you know, but now he went in, he brokered this deal. I'm thinking, okay, at least he brokered the deal, and that's the soft side of me. But I like the caucus that stood up against this. And explain to us why you think this is a bad deal for the American people. Because I'll tell you what, although we want to settle things down, we want to work things out, we hear you, sir, loud and clear. Tell us about it, David, if you would.
Yeah, there's no question, Joe. You just, in 10 seconds, just put it in the right perspective, which is we hoped for the best, right? We wanted, everyone wanted a deal. Everyone saw an opportunity. Very rarely do you have huge percentages of Republicans, Democrats, and independents all agree on one thing, which they did in this particular instance, which is in return for raising the debt ceiling, the vast majority of the American people wanted deep spending cuts to be part of the deal. And what the 29 Republicans who voted against the rule, which is meaning the allowing the bill to come to the floor. Mm-hmm. And then the 71 Republicans who voted against the bill when it was in final passage, all look at it and say, and many more who didn't vote against it, by the way, believe that it was a missed opportunity for the American people. So, you know, McCarthy says, well, we cut spending and you know, we're the first Congress to cut spending. Sure. The spending, they're saying is going to be a savings of $1.5 trillion over 10 years. Now, if you said it was a savings of $1.5 trillion over 2 years, I would have been like, no, okay, we probably could manage that. But over 10 years is $150 billion a year. That's a rounding error in our economy. That's nothing, okay? And so we didn't get very many cuts at all. And that's what this fight was about. And when you have 58% of Democrats and 70% of Republicans and a majority of independents all agree that spending cuts must happen, guess what? Spending cuts should have happened, and it really didn't. And I think that your listeners are smart enough to understand that, you know, they went there to the White House and they had an opportunity to do it and do it the right way. And of course, they failed. And that's really what it comes down to. And that's why you have these Republicans so upset, is that it's the missed opportunity. And it's not the deal that we were told we were going to get.
And do you think if McCarthy held up, and he held it up, that the Democrats wouldn't default? I honestly don't think that Joe Biden understands any. What do you think?
Well, he doesn't. But let me just say this: Janet Yellen and the federal government, to be candid with you, they don't know when the date is. They don't have any clue, Joe. Yeah. These people have been running Social Security for 100 years and have driven it into bankruptcy. They've been running Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and they've been running, every social program for Social Security for 50 or 100 years, and they've broken every single one of them. Every single one. There's not the United States Postal Service. Okay, the government breaks everything it touches. And so for them to say to us, oh, it's we're going to run out of money on May 31st. Oh, well, it's actually June 5th. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe it's not. These are made up. These are just made up in order to create pressure points. And so, Sure. Is there probably a day? Maybe. But the government just has to shift payments, and then they solve the problem. And that's what they did for the first day, for the first week. And so, Joe, I just, I'm a skeptic at heart when it comes to the federal government wanting to do the right thing by the American people and for the American people. And that's what this is about. You see guys like McHenry and Graves who go to these two members of Congress who go to they go to the White House as the negotiators, and they're weak, and they go there and they get rolled by a guy who's not just not mentally there, but they get rolled by incompetence. They get rolled. I mean, I'm shocked. Even I, who've been around this town, I'm shocked at the level of which they got rolled. And look, I know they tried. They're not bad people, but they should have. We settled way too early. We settled way too quickly. Even if people said to themselves, we had to have a deal at all costs. Mm-hmm. We couldn't afford a shutdown. And to be honest with you, I've seen government shutdowns now. They become routine, right, Joe? We've seen them. They used to be the worst thing in the world, and now the sky is falling. And you know what? Nobody notices anymore. They have a government shutdown for a week, and nobody pays attention to it anymore. So this would have been different, but I don't know that it would have been as catastrophic as they tried to make it out to be. And who is that? That's the federal government who wants to continue to spend unimpinged. This is the mainstream media who is in cahoots with the White House and the Biden administration. So how is it that we're taking their word for it? So I just look at it and I say it's a missed opportunity. We didn't get the real savings. Joe, just a final thought, and then obviously I hand it back to you. But I mean, we're staring at $32 trillion in debt. 32, and with this agreement, we're automatically going to 36 by January of 25. Okay, and I got to tell you, this agreement gets us to 50 trillion in the blink of an eye before 2035, okay, and maybe even earlier. This is not something to be celebrated. This to me now that it's done. I didn't want it to be done. Now that it's done, it needs to be analyzed and taken apart for what it is. Yeah. It needs and it needs to be what is thought of as the starting point. It can't be the end. It has to be the beginning.
I wonder if is the Senate going to okay this, do you think, David?
I totally believe that, look, you need 60 votes in the Senate. Well, there's 10 Republicans, who would agree with who would agree with Chuck Schumer on any spending, right? Like that's just who they are, right? Like that's their MO. So that's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. And so we're going to have, don't get me wrong, there's going to be terrific, members of the United States Senate led by guys like Mike Lee and Ted Cruz, right? Tom Cotton. There's some great people there that are going to make it very difficult, that are going to be standing tall for the American people and to make sure that they try to stop this thing if at all possible. But you also have guys like Jack Reed, a United States Senator, who has already said, we are going to add spending to this bill before we send it back to the conference. And the conference is where members of the House and Senate, appointed by the leadership, come together to make the House and Senate versions match up. What they're going to, and then you have to agree to it. So what we're going to see, we are definitely going to see what the Senate adds, and they're going to see this as an opportunity to add, and they're going to, and that's a problem.
And
it's a big problem.
David Bossie writes here on the piece we just retweeted the Biden-McCarthy bill also makes a mockery of what most people consider meaningful spending cuts and only claws back a small percentage of unspent COVID funds. The fact that this legislation fails to get back every cent of the funds, I think everybody agrees with you there, David, that were intended to combat COVID-19 should tell you all you need to know about the wisdom of the proposal. I thought that they didn't call back everything from that COVID.
Nope.
Because even New Jersey, we've got millions and millions of dollars in Jersey that's not spent. It doesn't help my property tax. They're living in the Garden State, my brother. I'll tell you that. Be nice if they gave some of it back to the people. But David, before we let you go, can't we and to go off of what Vivek Ramaswamy has been talking about, cut the Department of Education. The way Donald Trump went against NATO, say, look, you guys aren't paying, we're not paying. I mean, can't you the money that China should owe us in reparations for the Wuhan virus? There's so many things we could have done to get money back, correct?
Oh, for certain. Absolutely. Look, they clawed back, I believe the number was 50. I'm sorry. They clawed back 30 billion of the approximate 50 to 60 billion. So only half of COVID money. Look, let's just be honest for a second. Billions of dollars.
There it is.
Billions of dollars are now a joke. People. It's not even real money.
Yeah, that's right. That's a problem. David, we appreciate it. I think a lot of people, my brother, agree with exactly what you're saying, and we appreciate your piece. We always appreciate you jumping on
read the piece. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, indeed. David Bossie right there.